A top U.S. spy says the global economy could lose $1 trillion a year if China invades Taiwan. Taiwan's capital prepares for natural disasters and possible attacks.
Taiwan and the U.S. partner up to put on the first Women in Sports Photo Awards here in Taipei.
Plus, upset in South Korea as its flagship Pride event is replaced by a Christian concert. Hello and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. An invasion of Taiwan could wipe out $1 trillion a year from the global economy. That's according to the U.S.'s top national intelligence official. Avril Haines gave what she called her general estimate to the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee on Thursday. She based her $1 trillion forecast on a scenario where Taiwanese chip giant TSMC stopped making semiconductors due to a Chinese attack. TSMC alone produces around 90% of the world's most advanced chips. Haines also warned that China would ramp up efforts to become East Asia's major power in the next year.
What is perhaps most concerning is that the CCP is increasingly convinced that it can only fulfill Xi's vision at the expense of U.S. power and influence and through tools of coercion, using demonstrations of strength as well as economic and political coercion to compel governments to acquiesce to the CCP's preferences.
The Ming-An drills were held in Taipei on Thursday. These annual exercises help prepare civilians in case of an attack or natural disaster. And for the first time, representatives from the U.S. were there on the sidelines. Bing Wang reports.
Explosions and air sirens go off in Taipei as smoke billows under the landmark Taipei 101 building in the Taiwanese capital. All this during the annual Ming-An Civil Defense exercises when the city tests its emergency preparedness with an emphasis on wartime efforts.
其实从乌俄战争，我们大家看到国际以及区域的情势多变，所以我们必须要做好相关的准备。那就像我前面所说，我们追求和平，大家也在这一次演习体认到和平的重要性，但我们绝不畏战，我们做好万全的准备。
Thousands of civilians participated in the day-to-day drills, along with dozens of firefighters. And for the first time, there were foreign observers watching the exercises from the sidelines.
确实有美方人员，
所以层级跟他们的总分
相关细节其实我想也不方便评论，但是我们也都尊重相关人员的安排。
Taiwan is under constant threat from neighboring China, which claims the island nation as part of its own territory. The U.S. is watching developments here closely and has increased its military presence in the region. But the risk of conflict isn't the only reason for these drills. These Ming-An exercises are conducted in all of Taiwan's large cities to improve overall civilian readiness. The country is prone to natural disasters such as earthquakes and typhoons, and these drills focus on rescue efforts, mass evacuation of citizens, and backup plans if critical infrastructure is destroyed. Getting civilians to work alongside city personnel and the military is a key component of Taiwan's civil defense strategy, making sure every Taiwanese citizen is equipped, no matter the circumstance, to do what they can to protect themselves and the country. Andy Xue and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
The United States has refused a request to sell Taiwan its most advanced F-35 fighter jets. Taiwan's Air Force Chief of Staff, Tsai Ing-wen, told lawmakers that the U.S. did not provide a reason for the refusal. The F-35 is one of the world's most sophisticated fighter jets. Taiwan is looking to modernize its military to counter China's increasing threat. This development comes just days after the U.S. said it would deliver F-16V fighters to Taiwan 2 years later than originally expected. To find out more about why the U.S. is reluctant to sell Taiwan its most advanced fighters, TaiwanPlus reporter Sam Hui talked to Eric Shi, a military expert based here in Taipei.
Why is F-35 significant to Taiwan's defense?
台湾主要是对于美国的 F-35B 比较有兴趣啊。那 F-35B 因为它本身第一它具备逆中的特性，那另外它 F-35B 具有短距离起飞、垂直降落。那因为台湾毕竟现在面对大陆这个全岛都在大陆的岸基的火力投射范围之内。 一旦军事冲突发生，军用机场很容易遭到对方摧毁，或者说是在极短的时间之内难以恢复起降，所以我们需要这种短距离起飞的战机。
Why US reject to sell F-35 to Taiwan?
美国817公报的精神很重要，是不能够卖给台湾超越台湾现有武器性能的武器。也就是说，例如像这个，如果你今天你自己能够做 FCK-1 经国战机的话，那 OK， 那美国就可以同意卖给你性能相当或稍微好一点点的 F-16。但如果当你自己本身还不具备生产跟研发逆中战机的时候呢，那这个时候美方就没有办法把它的出售的武器能够升级。所以在这个情况下，你可以看到美国对台军售往往是台湾自己研发有一定的突破以后，那美国就顺势而受之。
That was Eric Shi, a military expert in Taipei, speaking to our reporter Sam Hui. Japan's Prime Minister Kishida Fumio says it's time to revise his country's constitution to recognize its armed forces. His comments were made in a recorded speech played at a forum in Tokyo on Wednesday, which marked Japan's Constitution Memorial Day. Among the changes Kishida wants is a revision to the article that bans Japan from officially having a military. Kishida said that Japan's defense forces should now have constitutional recognition, citing security challenges. To find out more about Article 9 of Japan's constitution, which forbids the country from having an official military, John Van Trieste spoke to Professor Xu Hongxing, an expert on Japanese politics.
Firstly, can you tell us about the history of Article 9 and why it was written?
日本宪法第9条，它其实是在1946年的2月，由当时候联合国驻日占领军他们所设定的。那当时候的占领军总司令是麦克阿瑟将军，那他当时候已经有协助要来成立这个日本国战后的新宪法。简单讲就是第一段是放弃战争，第二段就是不能拥有所谓的军事武力。
Can you tell us about efforts to amend this article or get rid of it in recent years?
战后一直以来，日本各历代政府都有提都有谈但是21世纪以后，这个中国崛起之后所带来的这个军事扩张，那当然也造成整个亚洲的军事上的一个威胁。
Now, calls to reform or amend Japan's constitution, and especially Article 9, have continued to the present day. And in fact, just 2 days ago, on the occasion of Japan's Constitution Day, we saw the current Prime Minister, Kishida Fumio, calling once again for constitutional amendments. What do you make of the significance of this?
岸田文雄自己本身的这个在政治上的支持度呢，虽然最近有慢慢回升了但是他在去年一直到最近将近有整个半年的时间，其实岸田内阁的支持度其实不是很好。在这种情况下，要如何来谈修宪，其实真的很困难。
That was John Van Trieste speaking to Professor Xu Hongxing of Tamkong University. The president of the Philippines says the U.S. will not be allowed to use his country's military bases to target China in the event of a conflict over Taiwan. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was speaking to media about the U.S.'s greater access to Philippine military bases, which was announced earlier this year. Marcos says the Philippines has no plans for military intervention. He says the new U.S. military bases are a defensive step and could be used to evacuate Philippine nationals in an emergency.
Whilst the tensions across the Taiwan Straits seem to be continuing to increase, then the safety of our Filipino nationals in Taiwan becomes of primordial importance. And so that these EDCA sites will also prove to be useful for us should that terrible occurrence come about.
United States senators have proposed new pro-Taiwan legislation. The bill would authorize U.S. President Joe Biden to negotiate a tax deal with Taiwan. This agreement would help avoid double taxation on companies that operate in both countries and help fight tax evasion. The proposal does have bipartisan support. Senators are also working on another bill to respond to any Chinese attack on Taiwan and to improve U.S. economic competitiveness against China. Taiwanese manufacturing giant Foxconn reported a 12% drop in revenue in April. The drop comes as the company, which assembles Apple products, faces lower global demand for smartphones. Foxconn says it expects business to continue slowing in the coming months. It will report its first quarter earnings next week. The company's billionaire founder, Terry Guo, is currently running for Taiwan president. He's seeking the nomination of the main opposition Kuomintang. Taipei hosted the world's first Women in Sports Photo Awards. The event highlights the severe underrepresentation of female athletes in media. Joyce Zeng reports.
Recognizing female athletes by capturing them in their most critical moments. Photographers of all backgrounds, amateurs, professionals, even students, contributed images taken at sports events over the last year. Almost half of the world's athletes are women, but they get only 4% of media coverage, according to the UN. This photography competition, co-hosted by Taiwan and the United States, is aiming to change that. In an effort to make sports coverage more inclusive, the Women in Sports Media Platform and Taiwan Sport Forward Association co-hosted the event, with support from the U.S. State Department. Photographers from over 50 countries submitted more than 1,300 entries. The contest's top prizes were handed out by Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen.
I am confident that this event will help bring much-needed attention to women in sports, whether in the field or behind a camera.
A distinguished prize was also reserved for the best image by a female professional photographer, won by Berlin-based Lisi Niesner for her image Football's Coming Home. She received her award virtually from London.
And let's celebrate women photographers in sport and women in sport.
This exposure is even more valuable given this year's Women's World Cup may face a TV blackout in Europe's top soccer nations. This was after media outlets made, quote, disappointing offers for rights, according to FIFA President Gianni Infantino, another blow to female representation.
运动不只是竞技，运动其实是，我觉得是一个老天爷给我们一个很棒的礼物，让我们可以好好的表达自己。
A key issue is also the lack of female professional photographers. Diversity behind the camera would allow for a broader portrayal of athlete stories.
We as female photographers have a different kind of sensitivity about the sport, and we're able to capture the emotion in female athletes, but also in the male ones.
Sports embodies so much of the human experience, from self-discipline to teamwork, overcoming pain and sweet triumph. And those behind these photos feel that having a fair shot to showcase their work is important to telling richer stories. Alex Chen, Leslie Liao, and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, can tea be used to treat Parkinson's disease? Researchers in Taiwan say it's possible. Stay tuned.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world. Charted by the freest country in Asia.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Ian Kavat. Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC.
Public buses to be electric by 2030. A mission that begins with listening.
And telling the stories of Taiwan.
In Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Drawing insight from original thinkers.
And sharing it with the world. TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus. For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
At a time when the world feels more divided, a platform for diverse voices to come together. I'm Divi Gopalan. Join the dots. Be part of the conversation. Connected where opinions matter.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Turning now to world news, supporters of gay rights have condemned a South Korean decision not to allow the country's flagship Pride event to take place this year. The Seoul government is instead giving the spot to a Christian event. Louise Watt reports.
Tens of thousands of gay rights supporters usually gather for South Korea's annual Pride celebrations in front of the capital's City Hall, but not this year. A Christian group which also applied to use the space on July the 1st has been given the go-ahead instead. The Seoul government says it chose the Christian youth concert because events for children and teenagers get priority. The organisers of Pride have responded that the position of the Seoul metropolitan government that it is in accordance with the ordinance is just an excuse, and at the root of it is the hatred of sexual minorities. The decision is being seen as another setback for South Korea's LGBT community. Like most Asian countries, it doesn't have marriage equality. It also bans men serving in the army from having sex with other men. A significant number of South Koreans are Christians, just under a third of the population. In the past, Christian groups have protested against the Pride event, and police have had to stand guard.
In South Korea, the religion's opposition, they are the strongest. And also they are very proactively building the relationship with the politician, try to against all the LGBT equal rights campaign and events.
Residents in Seoul voiced their support for the city's Pride event.
그럼에도 불구하고 사회적인 약자들이 조금 더 본인들의 목소리를 낼 수 있는 공간이 필요하다고 생각합니다.
서울시 결정은 똑같이 하지 말았어야지. 똑같이 하지 말았어야지. 이건 해주고 이건 해주면 안 되지 그거는. 그러면 아까들 불평등이라는 게 나올 수 있지.
Though barred from using the iconic space outside Seoul's City Hall, organisers aren't cancelling Pride. Instead, they're trying to find another venue for the flagship event, with the LGBT community saying it's even more vital they're seen in the face of such opposition. Damon Lin and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi has traveled to Syria. He's the first Iranian leader to visit the country since the beginning of the Syrian civil war 12 years ago. Raisi's delegation included Iran's ministers of defense, oil, and foreign affairs. He met with his Syrian counterpart, Bashar al-Assad, with the two presidents signing several agreements to improve economic ties. Iran has been one of the Assad regime's biggest supporters during the country's ongoing civil war. The devastating conflict has seen more than 500,000 Syrians killed or disappeared, and roughly 14 million people have been forcibly displaced. A court in Washington, D.C. has found 4 members of the far-right group, the Proud Boys, guilty of seditious conspiracy. The men, including the group's leader, were involved in the storming of the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. That was part of a failed bid to block Congress from certifying President Joe Biden's election victory over Donald Trump. Under U.S. law, seditious conspiracy means a plot to overthrow the government by force. It can carry a sentence of 20 years in prison. Back in Taiwan, police have arrested 8 suspects linked to a scam that netted millions of U.S. dollars. But as John Van Trieste reports, some victims say they're not hopeful about getting their money back.
Police say this man, Zheng Yaofeng, stole 81 million US dollars from investors. He allegedly convinced 5,000 users of mortgage platform IMB to buy the rights to collect debt from people who defaulted on their loans. But the debts never existed. The whole thing was a scam. And once he had the money, Tsai went into hiding with a stash of luxury goods. Police found him in a hotel in northern Taiwan's Yilan County. They say he has a history of gang activity. He's now in custody, and police have tracked down several of his accomplices too.
总共逮捕曾姓主嫌等8人到案，并且查扣了现金新台币300万元，也向法院申请扣押裁定，范闲名下的13笔不动产。
So far, 39 of the scam's victims have reported theft, but some victims feel they may never see their money returned.
有一些人是自己先提起一些民事的诉讼，大家都很失望，好像报了也没用，告了也没用。
Fallout from the case has spread beyond IMB, the mortgage platform used to trick the investors. IMB is owned by the Chuancheng Group, a conglomerate, and workers at other companies it owns say they've been the subject of online revenge attacks.
IMB 相关业务毫无关系的我们，明明是生技公司的员工，也开始有人就是被勒索，承受很大的压力，也希望社会大众不要把我们当成共犯来看待。
Police are now looking at whether the main suspect sold off his real estate to keep it from being confiscated. As some victims try to salvage what they can, the investigation continues. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is considering the import of Japanese strawberries. Japan does use pesticides that are prohibited here in Taiwan, but the Food and Drug Administration is meeting to set levels of the pesticides residue allowed on the fruit. Now, Taiwanese farmers are worried about Japanese strawberries diluting the local market. Bing Wang has more.
Taiwanese farmers planting roots ahead of strawberry season. But this year, Taiwanese consumers could find more than local strawberries on store shelves. In an effort to improve trade relations with Japan, Taiwan is looking to import Japanese strawberries and considering relaxing food safety standards to allow for it. Japan uses pesticides on the strawberries that are prohibited in Taiwan, but Taiwan's Food and Drug Administration has now agreed to set a safety level for consumption of that pesticide residue.
经由一定程序的评估，所以不是叫放宽，这个是我们在制定一个农药的残留链。
Taiwan banned many food imports from Japan after the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster, creating a stumbling block in bilateral trade. The ban was only lifted last year. But bringing in more strawberries has raised concerns among Taiwanese farmers who are worried about their income in a diluted market.
那将来台湾的草莓季上市的时候，那同时日本的草莓也这么多进来的话，当然一定会非常严重的影响到。
The FDA is expected to announce the approved residue level in 2 weeks, and imports are expected to start in July. While officials here hope this will boost ties with Japan, it could come at the expense of domestic farmers. Howard Zhang and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
In other fruity news, it's watermelon season in Taiwan and the tasty fruits are being prepared for market. But some farmers in the eastern township of Yuli are worried about thieves stealing their produce. Farmers lose about $13 every time a watermelon is stolen. Police have now begun using drone patrols to help protect the harvests. Authorities have also compiled a register with local watermelon growers. They hope that by stepping up patrols, they can help farmers have a fruitful season. Researchers in Taiwan have found that some oolong tea varieties contain a compound that could help treat Parkinson's disease. Yujing Huang has this report.
Having difficulty climbing down, this mouse has Parkinson's disease. But the same mouse performs much better after being fed tea ghrelin, a compound found in certain oolong teas. Researchers at Zhongxin University say they've proven that tea ghrelin can fix damaged brain cells. So they see it as a possible treatment for Parkinson's.
这个茶激素服用之后，它就让它的坏掉的粒线体，它会把它剔除，然后再重新合成新的好的这个粒线体，就对脑神经的这个功能有保护。
Protecting brain cells is not the only benefit that researchers found in tea ghrelin. The compound also helped a mouse that suffers from muscle loss syndrome, sarcopenia, to synthesize muscles. The research team also looked into a type of fermented tea, pu'er, and found that its compound, strychnine, can fight against viruses and reduce inflammation.
研究成果呢，大大的提升了国内的茶产业的一个应用。
But not all teas have the beneficial compounds. Tea ghrelin is only found in Qingxin, Sijichun, and Cuiyu oolong tea. The researchers suggest that Taiwan build a tea database, so people who want to get a health boost by drinking tea can have a reliable source. Zhang Su and Yujin Huang for TaiwanPlus.
The Pingdong Bluefin Tuna Cultural Festival is kicking off this Saturday with music and, of course, seafood. The festival in the southern county highlights the peak of bluefin tuna season in Taiwan. But this fish is not your typical canned tuna. Its price reflects its quality and rarity. The first catch of this season in Taiwan was sold for a total of $60,000 US. The fish averages about $150 US per pound. Pingdong has marked the bluefin tuna tourist season since 2001. This year, it's going to last from May 6th to July 2nd. Meanwhile, massive schools of barracuda are attracting divers to Taiwan's Green Island. Thousands of the fish are swarming in what local diving instructors describe as tornadoes. They say it's pretty rare for the fish to gather in such numbers. While the barracuda swarms are drawing tourists, they're warned not to get too close, as the fish may attack humans. Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. Remember to download the Taiwan Plus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, get ready for the weekend with these shots of a hot air balloon festival on Indonesia's Java Island. I'm Eric Gao. Take care and see you next time.